So I'm showing you on screen here, I need to replace the cabinet that the circuit panel is mounted into. I need to do this for two reasons. One, the old one is rotted out. The companionway sits just above where the circuit panels are, so any water that dripped in that got onto the table, it would sit at the bottom of the plywood and it basically just rotted over time. Marine plywood is rot resistant, but it's not rot proof. The second reason is there used to be a panel set back and it was a different style from the ones that came on the boat. I found an old panel from a chandlery that matches mine, I'm assuming from an old CNC that got torn apart. And I want to put that in and I want to put them all on the front. So I have to make the box wider anyway to put that panel up with the rest of them. The other issue is the bilge pump switch was set around the corner. I never liked that. As you can see on what I'm showing on screen, I've got now two bilge pump switches and fuses to power the 2,000 gallon and the 4,000 gallon per hour primary and backup / emergency bilge pumps. I wanted to move those to the front because when it was off to the side, if it ever got knocked off or, if it got bumped into manual and didn't get pulled back to auto, it was hard to know that you left it off. And that always made me nervous. Left on screen, I believe, the starboard side of the boat, there's going to be the single AC panel, then I'm going to have the main DC breaker, the two bilge pumps, and then the three 12-volt DC panels. So I've got some of this leftover marine ply. I've got the measurements I need. I'm going to start marking this up and cutting it. Now I'm not going to pretend this is going to be fine woodworking by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like to do a relatively decent job if I could. So the panel is going to have the two wraparound sides. So what I would like to do is get one long strip and then cut the two ends off to fold them around so that as you look at any side of the panel, the grain continues, it's grain matched. I want to cut it widthwise like this with the grain going left to right. I guess it's personal preference. You could also try cutting it this way so all the grain is going up and down. You won't really get the wraparound effect. I could do it either way, it really doesn't matter. But I'm going to do it widthwise because it makes me happy. Now, one of the things I need to pay attention to is the back, I'm exaggerating, goes like this. So the back where the bulkhead is higher than the front where the front panel and the circuit breakers are. So my first cut, I am going to do at the longest length, cut all of that, and then I will cut out the two sides, cut the wings to the right angle, and cut the top off. It'll make sense in a minute. The tallest number is 235. So my first cut is going to be to 235. I haven't moved any of this since my little accident, but I need the workspace right now. That is heavy. This is all stuff we've seen before. So I'm going to mark this up. I'll cut that up into pieces and then I'll bring you back and I'll show you what I've done. So there's the panel. Now I've got to cut the end off. I think I need 167, 137, something like that. The trick is, the old box had veneer to hide the layers of the plywood. I don't have veneer. Oh, I could make some, but it's not worth the effort. What I'm going to do is I'm going to miter the edges. So I'm going to do a straight cut just to get them down to the right size, and then I'll set the table saw to a 45-degree angle, test with some scraps to make sure that it actually miters up, because even though that says 45, it doesn't always actually cut at 45. You can get like a magnet block that sits on the blade that tells you more accurately. I don't have that, so I'll just use scraps. Anyways, once I dial it in, I'll run this through and cut the miter, and that'll let the grain wrap around and you won't see the edge. So I need 167 and 789 for the length. So I'm going to give, the end of this is not in great condition, so I'm going to come to 170 and then I can take the end off if I want to later. Okay, I am ready for cutting tomorrow, but like I said, I'm tired and I've learned my lesson, so I'll be back at it in the morning. For you though, this is too wide to risk cutting this much off. So even though it's a relatively small cut, I am going to set this up and I'm just going to hack it off with the circular saw. And I'll do the same thing over here to cut this panel out. Once that's done, then I'm going to have to miter the center board, but at least then it'll be as small as it's going to be. Okay, let's get to it. Damn it. Now, I cut this a little bit long, so when I go to miter this, I'm gonna have to take a little bit of the edge off using this as my good side. As you can see, the motor body bumped against this and against that, and I ended up with an unclean cut. But that's okay. I made this 170 when I needed 167, so I've got 3 millimeters of tolerance. So when I set that to 45 degrees and I do my miter cut, I'll just take a little bit extra off. And this being a smooth edge will set this one right. And the grain is pretty straight, so it's still gonna look not bookended, like it's continuous around the corner. Going to be the starboard side. So BS for bottom starboard and nothing else. And I'm going to put a check mark here because I know that's a good side. This is a bad side. So when I run it through, I'll put that against the fence. I probably want to add a couple of millimeters because this is not going to be a clean cut either. That was a much straighter cut. Much, much better. I'm marking the bottom so that when I take the top off and I angle the two sides, the two wings, the grain along the bottom matches. So this last one I'm going to cut on the table saw. It's small enough now that it doesn't bother me. This is the BP for bottom port. Oh me, I'm nervous. This makes me so nervous. I need to get over being nervous. I'm going to do some test cuts to make sure that when I put it together, the miter is actually 45 degrees. Now, I want my final dimensions on the two wings to be 167. Now what I don't know, 167 will put me to the bottom edge. I want the top edge. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna start light. I'll see how that goes. Right now I'm at 235. When I cut it, I suspect the back end will be 235 millimeters. And I'll see how much extra it is up here. And I might just have to dial it back a little bit and experiment. Okay. Nerves, 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 nerves. Got to get over them. Now, is this, I think these are the same thickness. Oh no, this is taller. Okay. I have to get some scrap of this to test. Okay, first, is this even 45 degrees? Let's solve one problem at a time. Okay, now the question is, how square are we? You know, for how cheap this saw is, I understand why they're so damn popular. It's perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just kind of be a bit crude about this. Because I've got lots of extra length here, so I could just kind of work it in. I could do the trigonometry to figure out what I would need to set this to get the appropriate top length, but math. So I'm going to put this to, let's do 168. Gives me one little oopsie. But that's got to line up with the face panel. So I need this cut like this so that it can wrap around because the face is going to butt up like that. So I need to cut it like this. I am going to get the miter cut and then I'll put this back to 90 degrees and cut it to my final length. That was pretty close. You can see there's a little bit of a flat there still. But yeah, that was pretty close. I'm happy with that. So I'll try bringing it over maybe just 2 more millimeters. That should definitely come through the top now. Now, that's the bottom. I need these cut this way. Okay, this is going to be a problem to do this cut because even at full send, that's not enough. And I certainly don't feel comfortable enough freehanding this. How am I going to do this cut? Let me have a ponder. I might try using the circular saw, set it at a 45 and do a couple test cuts with some scrap wood and try that. For now, what I am going to do is set this to 167 and do my final cuts to get these down to their final lengths. So now the slanted end is against the fence and that'll take that down to the final dimensions. There is one more cut I need to do with this. This is the thickness of the back, which is higher. I need to cut this down now to be the final height. debating what to do next. The right answer is to ask my neighbor if I can use his table saw, because he's got the proper sled for it. But I want to head out in the morning, and the chance of him being available on short notice in the morning, I don't know. Okay, next step is to start laying out for the circuit panels. So it's been a while since I was actually working on the panel, and I know I really probably should have recorded this, but I needed some time to get comfortable in the shop, just no cameras, so forgive me for not showing the whole process, but I'll get you caught up to date now. So this was the piece I originally cut, but it turned out to be 7 millimeters too short on the starboard side and 1 millimeter too short on the port side. I'm exaggerating it, but the companion weighs kitty wonkas. So the idea of the grain matching I talked about before, I lost that. I cut a new piece that was the right height. I set the fence, if you can generously call it that, to cut the angle, and now I've been lining up the panels. I've got all of the bottom cut. These here are, previously it was cut almost to the edge so that the screws on the back of this wouldn't foul on the wood. I mean, it's a lot easier just to cut out a big square, but I want to leave as much of this meat as possible. So what I've done is I've drawn a line, and where the backing bolts are for the handles, I've just recessed so they can sit in flush like that. I know I can't show you right now because I've got these screwed down for an alignment, but on the back I went and fitted some breakers to figure out how much I could leave of the meat and still have the breakers fit. And it's like 10 mil. I'm going to leave 10 mil in from the edge on the two long sides and 25 mil on the top and the bottom. And I'll do that for all of these. I did the same thing here. You can see how I marked it up, kind of. There you go. You can see how I marked it up for the main breaker. So the main breaker is going to sit about here. I will get that cut out tonight. I don't have the two bilge pump panels. I left them on the boat. So those are not going to be cut out tonight. I will do that when I come back. The other thing I was struggling with, if you recall, is how to cut the mitres. And what I ended up doing was I just took my skill saw, set it to 45 degrees. I didn't freehand it. I did set up a fence, but basically freehanded the two mitres, and it worked surprisingly well. In fact, you can see, I'll put a picture here. I was using a combination of, where is it? That tool and a bunch of F-clamps to sort of lock the two mitres together, and then I dropped in the holes for the screws. And I did screw them in to verify it fits. It looks good. This teak veneer is brittle, so you can see a little bit of chipping. There's not much I can do about that. It's not perfect. This is not cabinet maker quality, but the mitres line up pretty good. I'm happy enough with it. So I put the screws in to the point where there was still some wiggle room, and these are wiggly as well, so nothing was pushing things around. There was a bit of wiggle to these panels. I took this jointed fence and I made sure that the bottom of the two outer panels, the other two panels are still on the boat, actually being used. I made sure that the bottoms were lined up. So once that was done, I tightened down the bottom, sort of locking the plates in place. And now I will drill out the tops. And once I have that done, I will move these two panels inward, and then I will do the same thing for the top. This panel, I mean, that's the center line, so I guess I can drill the holes for that as well and drop that in. I'll drill holes on the corners big enough to drop a jigsaw blade in, and then I'll just zip, 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 and the centers will come out. I'll clean up the edges, and then I should be able to take this to the boat tomorrow. So again, apologies for not filming all of this. I know I probably should, but like I said, I needed some shop time without the camera just to kind of get my wits about me. I know I've said it earlier in the, I don't know if it's this video or the previous video, but I'm surprised at how much that gave me the heebie-jeebies, and I'm getting over it. I've used it a few times. Well, you saw that earlier. I'm getting over it. It's just taken some time. So today what I want to do is I want to test fit the cabinet. I need to make sure it fits, figures out how much I have to trim the wings to make them fit in. And then what is the last thing I have to do? Oh yeah, the bilge pump switches. I have to take one of those home or mark it up here to make sure that I can cut it out and it'll fit. And then I can take it home, do a final sanding, and start oiling it and bring it back for the final install. That's going to make the electrical rewire go a lot easier if I can actually leave the panels where they're supposed to be. Okay, let's get to it. Right, I came out here to disconnect this. This, on the other side, goes to the circuit breaker panel before anywhere else. There. Now, that panel is safed. No reason to waste these if I can pull them apart easily enough. Oh, please fit, please fit, please fit. Oh, ah. Okay, it's close. It's very close. I need to get the sides. I do not expect the wings to fit. I have not trimmed them, but I need to see how much they're out by. It's not too far off. The back fits, the front doesn't. So I'm gonna grab the plane and see if I can just fit it right now. Ow! Colin, that was for you. I just whacked my head on this. So that's why I put starboard bottom so I wouldn't mix this up. I don't know how sharp this is, but let's find out together. Okay, it's really just right at the very end that it's binding. I'm taking it too much like this, so I need to take a little bit of the back off. My planing skills are not great yet, and I will be the first to admit. No, still binding. You can see how it's just binding right up along here, but there's plenty of space at the back. Right, now it's binding from about here forward. I don't trust the way I was cutting that I didn't put a bit of a wave into it. That's why as I get closer, I'm switching to this. It's like a really long plane. Because I can trust that this board is relatively straight. Getting closer. You know what? That's pretty damn good right there. You can see where the screw is. There's little blocks that will screw and lock everything in. These ones here. I've kind of got a catch-22 right... Water just fell in my eyes. I'm exaggerating, but when it's at an angle like this, you go from this height to this height down here, which is longer than the board when it's perfectly vertical. I can probably push it and it'll pop into place. I just don't want to risk breaking anything. But I say that as I force it into place. That's pretty good. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, let's go do that side now. Someday this boat's going to be a comfortable place to be again, but today's not the day. All right. Okay, this one is way down. Actually, I have... This here was the old side panel. Now, it used to be like here. Now it's over here. Let me see if it fits still. If it does, I can use this as a template. Okay, it's a little tight on the front. It's fine on the back. Yeah, okay, that's the right alignment. So the back is okay, and the front is a little bit tight. Line up the front. You can see the difference. So that's a fair bit to take off. I might try to do my pull saw to get the bulk of it off. I have to be careful though, because this is going to chip really easy. You've seen me do enough cutting and stuff. I don't need to record all of this, so I'm going to turn off the camera. I'll finish trimming this down and I'll bring you back when it's close to the final fit. what I did using the Ryoba, the Japanese pull saw, is I set this up, actually on the back side here, kind of like a fence, and I just held it really tight like this and ran the pull saw with this to make sure that I didn't cut in. So this acted to help me make sure that I stayed straight up and down and in a straight line. That worked. It was relatively close. I test fitted it. It was a bit tight in the front, cleared that off. Then it was binding in the back, so I've just taken a little bit here off. This is getting dull. Manufactured wood products that have glue in them generally tend to dull out blades fairly quickly, and I hadn't sharpened this in a while, so it already wasn't super sharp. So it's getting a little bit kershnickety here towards the end. In fact, I think I will just try to take what I need off with the sandpaper. You know what? It's tight, but I'm going to say that's perfectly good. Okay. So I got to take the hour meter out. I will measure this area here, and I'm going to make a blank plate that goes over it out of the same wood. Oh, yeah, it's got a little bit of tear out there. Well, whatever. It's not perfect, but it's as good as I could get it. And then I'll sit that in, and that will hide the holes made by previous stuff. Now I can confidently say that this is good. I'm going to disassemble it, take it home, and I still have to cut out for the Bilge switches, but I can do that at home and oil it during this week, so when I come out next weekend, I could do the final install, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. So then I can put the panels in and just be done with it. So I've been very busy lately, so much so that I can't remember what I filmed and what I didn't. I don't think I filmed this, so I wanted to show you something. I have made the cutouts for the two bilge pumps into the main circuit breaker cabinet. I don't know, despite measuring it multiple times, I still screwed it up. And I had to scarf in, well, it's not actually a scarf, I just had to put in a little piece here. This is completely hidden by the plate. You won't see it, but the problem was, I'm exaggerating it now, but you see how far over it is? The screw is going to miss the wood. I want it about there, so that little plug that I put in means that there's some meat for the screw to go into. So as of right now, the circuit breaker, the main circuit breaker panel cabinet is completely finished, save for erasing these lines and finishing. Once I start finishing though, I want to be able to do the AC cabinet as well. Where is that? So this is going to go in the nav station, and the way I'm currently planning to have it is, I wanted this to be butted up against the side of the other one, but I don't think I can do that without blocking the radio. So I'm going to make this cabinet have, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, with the back and the bottom being obviously the top of the nav station and the back wall, the bulkhead. So let's make this box. So I started to design the box in FreeCAD, and I realized it was really simple. I do have my measurements on the Tele-Dingle, and the height is going to be 238 millimeters, and the depth is going to be 88, and the width is 293. I don't know if you can see this, but the grain is going port starboard, left to right. So for consistency, I want everything to have the grain going left to right, horizontally, however you want to describe it. Okay, that's beat up here. That's got these marks, but they're where the panel is going to be cut out, so that should be fine. Okay. Now the reason this is taller is this panel is actually a little bit shorter than the other ones. So you would think the box I needed to make would be a little bit shorter than this. But see how this one's cut flat because it sits on the underside of the companionway? So it was cut at the exact height I needed. To hide the unclean edge of the plywood, normally you could put like edge banding on it. Anybody who sat in a classroom with the edge banding on your desks, you know how they peel up. So what I want to do is I want to do the mitered edges so that I have the end of one goes right to the end of the other, the same way I did the wings of the main circuit panel. So this one has to be taller to account for the miter that's going to go on there. And because I've got that miter on there. I decided I wanted to put 25 millimeters, 1 inch. The reason for that is it'll give me a larger run along the top compared to the bottom, so it'll look like the panel is sitting down a little bit. But it means that because there's 12.7 millimeters, half an inch of thickness in the plywood, the panel and everything sticking out of it will be under that. So the chance of running into any kind of sizing issues is not there. Now, I don't think I'd really have an issue if I wanted to shorten it up, but I've decided to make it a little bit more spacious in there. Now, one of the other things I haven't solved is how am I going to get the main wires from the main circuit panel cabinet over to this sub panel, I guess you want to call it. I might have to take some of the scraps and make a little L bracket that goes between the two that I can hide the wiring inside of. So back to this. So that was 238, now I need 293. I am going to cut these to the raw dimensions that I need, and then I'll worry about putting the miter on it. I'm so paranoid ever since that little oopsie doopsie. Well, that's a pretty efficient use of that piece. That's my leftover. That's a stir stick. Both sides are finished, so now I can decide which one has the least damage and which one do I want to make the face. This one's looking pretty good. So that one just needs to be chamfered. This one now needs to be cut into 88 millimeter wings. And done. A little bit of tear out, but nothing too serious. So there you go. You can see roughly what the box is going to look like with... That seems a lot wider. Well, I guess 25 face. This is too wide. How did I get my numbers? Width was 25, 80, 10, 153, 25. You know what? Trust the math. Trust that there's no way that's going to be that big. 238. Did I do 283? My dyscalculia, I found out. It's 400. Oh, God. Oh, no, I just haven't cut it down yet. Oh, my Lord. There we go. That's closer to the right size. That's looking a lot more like I had in my head. Now, I could put this up like this and put the AC or the 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter here, and then I could have all my outputs right at the nav station, which I could do. Now the next thing I need to do, I need to find a piece with the grain going left to right that is 293 by 88. This will do, and this already has one of the chamfers on it. So now let's do a kind of initial assembly. Should probably put that down. No, if I put it up here, that leaves me more room if I need to plug in a brick adapter and I'm not fouling with the top of the nav table. This here is the space that'll be taken up when I cut the chamfers and the chamfers all line up. You get an idea of what it's going to look like. So now what I need to do, and one of the reasons I wanted to do the test fit to make sure it looked good, is I now have to run along and make my 45-degree chamfer on these two sides and then on the top. When I do the top, I will do the same top for this. So okay, I need to label this right away before I screw this up. Top, port, starboard. Actually, let me just mark out where I need to do the chamfers now. So if that's the AC face, I need to cut this way, because I get myself confused very easily. So the more that I can mark up, it'll help prevent me. Like if I can just look for a mark, I can see whether I'm about to cock something up. If you're not good, learn strategies to hide your oopsies. So I know how that one's being cut up. I have to do the other two, but I'll show you. So I marked the edges, and then I struck a line, marked an edge, struck a line. So now I'm going to do that for this one and for the top. There's a bit more character in the grain here. I know you can't really see that, but you'll see it when I stain it. So I'm going to make that the front. It'll be more interesting to look at. Oh, that's a nice cut. That's a real nice cut. It's what I wanted. Okay, that works fine. So far, so good. 238 minus 12.7 is 225.5. 0.3. The last cut is 88 minus 12.7 is 75, a fat 75. This is a standard residential outlet, but it's still going to be the same kind I use on the boat. Just in case anyone sees me putting this in here and thinks I'm going onto the boat with this, I'm not. I have a proper weather, what do they call it? Weather resistant, weather, it's not weatherproof, it's weather something. I'm going to have to make a jig to hold all of this together when I drill the holes out, so, but I'll do that off camera. Like that, and like that. That's what it's going to look like, and this will be for something in the future. Realistically, I'll probably put a 12-volt outlet here. So up 10, in 25, down 25, in 25, and that sets the outer perimeter, words, hard. Okay, in theory, this should just fit right in now. And it's off by a little bit, but that's okay. I can round out the differences. Now in theory, I should be able to put this here, and that should be 1 centimeter, which it is not. It is bigger. That is a fair bit bigger. Okay, what did I do wrong? That's 3/4 of an inch. That's 2 centimeters. I misplaced a digit, but that's okay, you know? 25, 20, 25, it's gonna look good enough. That'll do well. That'll do well indeed. Okay, let's mark this out. Four holes, and these ones get the just the back cut out so that there's room for the screws. Now, one thing I have to figure out is this is going to say 12 volts DC, and I'm going to have to change this to be 120 volts AC. But after putting this much work into it, I'm not going to just put a sticker over it. By board foot, this is the most expensive piece of wood I've ever purchased. There's a knot right here, and it looks like it's split along the knot. So it's one relatively clean side. It needs to be jointed. Obviously, I can see the saw marks. And this side is rough. It needs to be cut. But I bought this because I need to mount the new radio. It's just the right size, obviously way too long, for the radio. This was the least expensive piece I could find at the hardware dealer that was wide enough to take this like this. I could easily have used some of the leftover marine plywood, and I actually thought about doing that, but then you're going to see the edges unless I again did the banding, which I don't want to do. So I figured it was 30 bucks, which for raw dollars, it's not too bad. I mean, 30 bucks is 30 bucks on a boat project. It's just on the board foot that it's super expensive. But anyways, what I might do is take some of the leftover of this, rip it into thin little strips, like 3 millimeters thick, and then try to hand carve. I've never done that before. It'd be nice if I had a CNC machine, but I don't. To hand carve 120 volt AC, or make a stencil I can print out on the printer and lay down a bit of paint, or. I'll figure something out. But if I make a thin strip of teak and I use that to lay over the old CNC cut 12 volt, 120 volt, at least all the panels will be consistent and it'll look classy-ish. Hopefully, maybe. So I was upstairs grabbing stuff. I decided I am definitely going to put this in. It's just going to, I mean, why not? Oh, 15 mil. Okay, 10 mil on one side. Okay, so I'm going to do 10 mil, 20, 20, 20. Okay, so now I know where I need to cut out for that. What I need to figure out here is, what do I need to cut out for this? Okay, I have to do maths. That's not a big deal. So that is 70 mil. That is 56. So 70 minus 56. I should be able to do this in my head, but I don't trust myself well enough to keep the numbers right. 70 minus 56 is 14, so I gotta come in 7 mil on either side. That's 106. Verify that this looks good. No, I screwed something up. I definitely screwed something up. God damn it. It's not wide enough, And if I line up the bottom there, it's way too tall at the top. So I completely cocked something up here. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to start over. Okay, so you know what? You see what I'm doing here. I just have to do it right. All right, I got it sorted out, and let me show you the layout. I also added for the cigarette lighter adapter. Like that. Like that. There we go. Pretty straightforward. Okay. I have holes. Now I need to connect the dots. Actually, I might as well drill this out now because I've already got the drill set up for that. But for that, I need to strike my center. That's the center right there. I'm probably going to block your view, but that's okay. I need to see it. Okay, so that's going to be good. I mean, it's not good, but it'll work, is what I was trying to say. How did I get that off so much? Yeah, see that there? And I had the line through the center. I struck it there, but, well, whatever. You do your best, and when it's not perfect, you're hopefully within shooting range. Okay, jigsaw time. This is one of my oldest tools. I got this, I think, in '95. All right, for some reason when I was cutting this one, it threw a lot of debris up into my eyes. Probably should have been wearing safety McGargles. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, that seems okay-ish. If anyone asks, yes, I know, like, the ground is supposed to go up. Nothing on my boat is like that. I'm gonna put it this way. That looks relatively decent. Okay, last thing to do is cut this panel out. And voila. All right, let's do a cosmetic assembly, if nothing else, just to make me feel a little bit better. Pretend you're a GFCI 20 amp. And there we go. For the two circuit breaker cabinets, I'm done, except for finishing work. And that's what that's for. I might try with some scrap tonight before I go to bed, Osmo oil. This is typically what I use. It's what I used for this table and for the workbench upstairs that you see, the office desk. I love this stuff. But I like it specifically because it lets the original wood come through. Now, the problem is, the rest of the stuff on the boat is dark. So I might go for the Epifanes and see if it makes it closer to what the rest of the boat looks like. I'm really hoping it darkens up when I put the oil on it. But anyways, yeah, so tomorrow is going to start the oiling process. So it's day the next, and I finished making the mount for the radio. It was fiddly to make, especially because I wanted to put, I don't know if you can see it on camera there, but I wanted to put some hard chamfers on it, just going with my general theme. I like hard edges on things. I know if I fall and bang my head on that, it's gonna hurt, but the chance of me falling right there are, now that I say it, 100%. So the next step is to start oiling. Now this is where, as my old woodworking teacher put it, finishing is a career in and of itself. He's a fantastic woodworker, and he's always been like, yeah, I can do finishing, but I'm not great at it. And for him to say that tells you something. So, I don't expect to do a fantastic job, because this is my first try. But, as I'm sure I've said before on the channel, even if I screw it up, well, down the road I'll look at it. I mean, chances are if anyone else noticing these little mistakes is pretty small, I'll see them. And I don't think it'll bother me so much as remind me of when I was working on this project. So these are the buckets I'm going to use, and I think I said yesterday I was going to test Osmo and Epifanes. I didn't bother. The first step is to prep the surface. If I remember right, Epifanes says to prep the surface with nothing finer than 180 grit. The idea behind this is you're obviously sanding clear the surface. It's a veneer, so we can't sand very aggressively, but more what we're doing is we're lifting the fibers, we're opening up the fibers. The first mix is going to be a 50-50 mix between the varnish and the thinner, making it quite viscous, very watery. And the first coat that goes on, it's primarily going to be there to seep in and saturate the pores of the wood. I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but in case anyone doesn't, when you look at wood, I don't know if I can show you this here. Okay, you get a bit of sanding there, I gotta do a little bit. But you see these rings, or these, what would have been the tree rings? If you look really close, they actually look like straws. And the straws are basically, like, imagine a bundle of straws. That's what wood is, fundamentally. That's what brings the nutrients in the water up through the tree. So when you put any kind of liquid onto the wood, it gets absorbed through capillary action up those straws. I think the proper term is lignin, but I don't know if that's right or not. Anyways, this isn't a marijuana enthusiast channel, so whatever. But this is also why end grain rots faster, because it's going to absorb a lot more water than the grain laying sideways. Imagine a straw, it's only open on the sides, you're not going to get liquid in from the front. So, I am nervous because I don't want to screw this up. This is a lot of work and a lot of expense, but I gotta get it done, so here we go. Right, so this is going to go away for now, and I'm going to do my light sanding. I'm obviously not going to make you watch all of it. So I've got these sanding blocks. They're basically just offcuts. When I was working on this bench and the table upstairs and whatever, you'd end up having little pieces that were left over. And the ones that were the right size, you basically finish them up and you put some sticky back sandpaper, not to use this as sanding, but because it acts as a really good grip for another piece of sandpaper. And we're going to sand in a straight direction. Let me show you. In all of the skills I claim no expertise at, woodworking is the one that, as you've seen, I make lots of mistakes. I make zero claim to be an expert, but it's one of the ones I feel a little bit more comfortable in. So if I speak a little bit more confidently, that's why. It doesn't mean I'm right. So this is like everything else on the channel, not a tutorial or a how-to, it's just how I'm doing it. One of the key things, I'm not using an orbital sander, and when I sand, the grain is going like this, and the sandpaper is going to go along with the grain. If I go sideways, like say I'm not touching the wood, but say I did that, where I turn sideways, it's going to start to cut along the wood, and it's going to be a lot harder to make it look nice. So this is just straight passes. One of the things I learned with my woodworking is that a lot of times, especially because you're close to the end of the project, it gets very tempting to just rush and just sand it there, it's good enough. It's not generally. You want to take your time with your sanding. And the reason for that is, this is the last step. When you put the oil on it, that's it, you're done. If you rush the last step, you could put hours and hours and hours of time into a project, to say nothing of the materials. And then because you were impatient at the last minute, you caulk it up and it doesn't look good. Take your time. Now again, I can't do very much here because it's a veneer and it's fairly thin. Let me see if I can show you how thin it is actually. But it is maybe, if you're generous, a millimeter. You have very little material to work with. You cannot take too much off or you'll just blow through it and now it's ruined. When you're on a narrow place like this, be careful not to rock back and forth. I'm exaggerating it, but it'll cause it to hump. And that's one of the benefits of a block like this being so rigid, is it helps you keep it parallel with what you're sanding. Okay, I've got to do that for this piece, that piece, these pieces, and this. That's boring as heck for you to watch. I'm going to put on some music, do this, and I'll bring you back. Oh, camera dipped. Okay, largely done. I did an initial wipe down of all of the parts, but I realized I have a toy I can play with. One of the things Epifanes mentioned in their FAQ is people asking, how are there bubbles? And they were saying it's almost never bubbles. If you see anything that looks like a bubble, it's probably a piece of dust that's caused the finish to sort of run away from it. Have you ever done like soap with pepper on the water and the pepper all goes flying? I think it's the same thing. I don't know. But in any case, I blew it down with my mouth as best I could. Oh, that sounded nasty. But I bought that air compressor thinking, there's a lot of money to spend for just one task. I love this thing. It has been so useful. Not the least for being able to like Like, it's just so damn useful. But like, how have I gone this long without getting one of these? So, what I wanted to do is make sure that I've got all of the dust off. Now, I do have some, what is it, methylated spirits? Methyl hydrate, which they recommended for cleaning, and I have a brand new lint-free cloth. So I'm going to blow as much dust off as I can, and then the last step will be going through and doing a final wipe down with the methylated spirits. Let that dry, which I'm assuming it's going to flash off pretty quickly, and then mix and start brushing. I've decided I am going to do it on the table. I have some vapor barrier plastic, so I will cut off a fresh strip of that and lay it over the table. So, well, you've seen me do that. I'll bring you back in a sec. All right, I have finished sanding, and I got that 6mm poly on the table now, so I don't have to worry about messing up my table. So I've got this all set up with the grain in the right direction. I used the air to blow it off, and I'm glad I did, because the way that this is kind of, it's porous, but that's not really the right word. It's not smooth even when it's been sanded. There's space between the straws. So when I was blowing, there would be dust caught in between those low spots, and as I was blowing it, I'd occasionally see puffs of dust get blown away. So I'm happy I did that. Now, I turned you on because I thought I was ready, but now I'm not entirely sure how much spirit I should use. Like, how wet should I get it when I'm cleaning it? I'm going to watch the videos, which I will link in the description, or I guess it's one video. Whatever I'm about to look at, I will put in the description below. Okay, they were fairly liberal with their application. Ooh, it's cold, which means, yes, it does evaporate very quickly. You know what, I probably could have just poured that right onto the cloth. I didn't need to have this extra step, but whatever. Like I said, I've never done this before. This is not going to be the color I was originally expecting. I thought this was going to go more. Oh, wow. Look at that. After one wipe. And that's after vacuuming and blowing. I mean, they're not going to tell you to do a step if there's not a good reason for it, right? Look at that. Yeah, okay, definitely don't skip this step. I don't think it matters if you wipe it in the direction of the grain, but that's how I'm going to do it anyway. The whole reason I have that roll is because the inspector wants me to vapor barrier all the insulation. And in case you're wondering what that is, that's some of the plastic for when I do put it over, I can tape that up for the outlet. I don't know why I felt like I had to explain that, but I did, so there you go. Look at that, it's already almost dry. That's why it feels so cold. It's just evaporating so quickly that it works kind of the same way your sweat does. As it evaporates, it takes heat off your skin. You know, I'm pretty sure I got teak veneer marine ply, but look at the difference in color. I'm kind of thinking I might have gotten mahogany, but even then I would expect mahogany to be darker too. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different species of teak. This is just to make sure I'm that much more dust free. I also, when the camera was off, just went upstairs for a bit and made sure that all the dust in the room had a chance to settle out. I will say this methylated spirits does not have an alcohol smell, which is kind of what I expected. I don't know what it's made of. Now the box does say that this stuff is flammable, so don't smoke while you're doing this. Or have a scented candle going. You might have a bad day. Okay, so now I'm going to give all of that some time to dry? Yeah, dry is the right word. It's wet. It's just not water. Okay, I'm going to hang this somewhere to dry. I'll be right back as soon as I'm ready to start mixing. I don't have enough of those little yellow triangles that you put things on when you're painting. So what I'm going to do is find a scrap piece of plywood and just put a whole bunch of nails through it and use it like a pinboard. Will this be precise? No, not even close. I just need a bunch of random nails. All right, let's see how that's gonna do. Okay, that works there. I need to put some more down here. Oh, hi, spider. Okay. There we go. Okay, I have a workable pegboard. So I'm gonna do a 50-50 mix. It'd be nice if I had a vacuum chamber so I could do the 50-50 mix, stir it up really well, and then you put it in, turn on the vacuum, it pulls all the bubbles out, you pull it out, and then you have much less likely chance to have bubbles. I don't have any of that fancy stuff, so I'm gonna stir slowly. I have no clue how much I need. This stuff is not cheap, so I don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish, but I don't want to be wasteful either. I have no idea how much that is, but that's how much I'm going to use. When you are doing things for yourself for the first time, inevitably you're going to have waste, but, well, that's the cost of learning. Just shy of 75 milliliters. So 75 is 150, but it says 40 to 50. So I will go, let's aim for 125. Woo-wee, that has a smell. I think that's 125? Just under. So let's do just a dash more. Okay, and this is almost certainly going to be way more than I need. Oh, I am very glad I put this plastic down. I'm trying to feel for clumps. I don't know how aggressive I should be mixing this. I guess we'll give that a try. Okay, so I'm going to flip each one over, careful not to scuff the surface. They said to be very generous initially. Make sure you get it good and saturated. Wow, this is really getting absorbed in. Oh, that's a good thing. The video was saying definitely work it in nice. When you're done, you do one more tipping pass with the grain. But until then, don't stress it. Just get it worked in. And I made lots, so I don't have to be stingy with it. You can see how runny it is. Now, look at that, an imperfection in that I didn't sand it quite well enough right there, and suddenly it became visible. That's the, oh wow, I got a couple big grooves. Ah, I didn't look closely enough. That's the thing with finishing. If you don't get your sanding right, you're gonna know it as soon as you start finishing. I don't know what this wood is. I mean, it's said to be teak, but this doesn't look like any teak that I'm familiar with. Not that I'm a teak expert, mind you. I was expecting much more red. This is very brown. I'm gonna have to sand this, but even though, I don't know if you can see that well, see that line right there and that one right there? That was me not being careful enough in my sanding. I hope the nails aren't what's scratching it up. More tipping pass with the grain. This is on the inside, so I'm not too terribly concerned, but still. And if it's worth doing, do your best to do it right. Look at how much redder this is, and I know this is real teak. This is what I was expecting. So I don't know what this veneer is. Maybe mahogany? I know they gave me the option between mahogany and teak, and I thought I asked for teak, but, well, anyways. Oh, this is taking so differently. I'm somewhat disappointed in myself, but, well, it's too late now. Up until now, I've always used Osmo oil, so this is all new for me. If it sounds like I'm making a lot of excuses, it's not to you, it's to myself. You're just hearing my thoughts. Well, you know what? I was worried about this not fitting the rest of the boat, but if I do the battery box with the same finish, the cabinets and the battery box will all match. And it does sit somewhere between the world of the white oak and the existing finish. So, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. I know Peter Knowles travels with Geordie. He usually uses a cloth when he does his finishing work. The Epifanes, or Epifanes, or however it's pronounced, said to use a brush. And I don't know enough to second guess them, but I'm thinking a brush or a cloth might have been easier. I left the face to last because this is the, well, it's the face. So When I finish with this, I want to make it look as good as I can, and then I'll just stop and put the brush away. You know what? I thought I made way too much. I don't think I did now. More than I need, but not a lot to waste. Okay, that is not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Like I said, there's going to be another sanding coat. Another day the next, let's do the second coat. I've also got to take everything and give it one coat of sand. Just a light coat of sand. Like coat of sand? It's not a coat. Give it a light sand, clean it up, wipe it down with methylated spirits again. That's a really fun word to say. And then I can do my next coat. Just doing a very light sand, just checking for any high spots. Here's the same two parts, the two wings. I'll do one and I'll leave the other, and you can see the difference between the before and after. Hopefully it'll come across with the light. But it's a subtle difference. You can feel it more than you can see it. But it's just taking off the high spots and flattening everything up. Okay, so I've got the sanding done. I was rewatching the how-to video, and they mentioned that for the second coat, it should have been a 220 grit. I used a 180 grit. Now, it's a fairly worn out piece, so I'm not too terribly concerned, but so be it. The other thing that's going to be different about this pass is going to be 25% diluted with the thinner. All right, it's been about a half an hour since I cleaned everything. It should be dry. I'm gonna go to 75 milliliters and then go to 100 with a thinner. At least I'm gonna try. Let's see how accurate I can pour this. I left my gloves on the boat, so I'm kind of scrounging for whatever I had thrown around. One of the upsides to being messy is that in pickle, you probably have something you should have thrown out but didn't. 2x2 hands of blue. Pretty close. Now DOS thinner. I mentioned earlier about how I wish I had a vacuum to get all the bubbles out. It's really not an issue with this stuff. No drips. I'm pretty sure this is mahogany. But it started to darken up with the second coat, so I think it's going to look okay. Last one. And I saved the biggest for last. I'm trying different techniques as I go too. Trying to get the insides here closed up leaves a lot of runs. So I'm going to try doing them first, and then I have lots of time to see where the drips are. Et voila! I made much less this time, and I still have 25 mil. So I only used 75% of that. I could have gotten away with less, but live and learn. Let me show you what it looks like, and then done for the night. Starting to look better. Also, you might notice there's lines like this. Those are not defects. Those are actually part of the character of the grain. I mean, it might be a defect from when it was being cut off the log, but it's smooth. It's not a scratch in it. There you go. Yeah, there's another one that looks like a scratch or a defect, but nope, that's just character of the wood. Okay, good night. Day 3. So this one's supposed to be 220 grit. This one's not going to be nearly as diluted. I have to check, but I think it's 5 to 10%. I splurged and bought new gloves so I don't have to scrounge some from like shelves. For you, this is going to be quick. For me, I've got work to do. I do like this color way more than this. Oh well. So one of the things I'm doing different this pass, which I kind of wish I had done last pass, is sand the inside of the cutouts. At first I didn't worry about it because I thought, oh, who's going to see it, right? Nobody. But when I was cleaning it last time, this was rough still, and it was fetching on the cloth I was using with the methylated spirits to wipe it down and pulling fibers off. There were times where I would have to stop when I was varnishing and pick out little bits of yellow lint. Which is an argument for using a bright color that contrasts with what you're working with. You can see things like that. I realized too, I can just take this, I don't need to put it in the cup, just pour it right on the cloth. The third coat is where you should start to see the real gloss come through. They were saying the first and second coat, you're still expecting a lot of the varnish to be taken up by the grain. You know, now that this is building up, it's not that bad. I still would rather it was a teak, but it's starting to look a bit shinier. I was worried it was going to stay like super matte. I don't want a glass. I don't want it to look like it's plastic or something, but I also didn't want to, yeah, anyways. That's what I meant by the lint. That was just because of the corner. Nothing to be done about that. You know, I can't say I enjoy finishing, but I can understand why people do. This is, it's satisfying watching it come along. It's a lot of work. I don't know if the way I edit this video is going to show how much work it is. Let me show you something. When I talked about how you have to be careful about making sure you get all of your scratches cleared or else they're going to start to pop more when you varnish it. I don't know if it's coming through there, but there's a bunch of scratches under here. Now this is the back side, which is why I didn't take the time to fix it, but I hope it's showing up on camera as it is. Yeah, I think you can see them fairly clearly here. Those were not nearly as visible before I started varnishing. Definitely take your time and get your sanding done right, at least on the sides that's going to be visible. This is not super elegant. One of the things they mentioned in the how-to video is don't be tempted to overwork the varnish. It will flow out on its own. I expect this is going to get smoother as this gets loaded up. It's awkward right now because the sponge is, well, brand new. And stop fussing. You can sort of see, if I can get the light right, the texture just after rolling it out. It does smooth itself out as it cures. So that's coat 3. All right, it is now the 4th day. It's been over 20 degrees Celsius. It's been almost 24 hours and these are still slightly tacky. It's currently Wednesday and I'm trying to debate whether I want to do more than 4 coats. Also, I have a correction. After the 3rd coat, you could start switching to a roller according to Epifanes. I was wrong. And I'm saying Epifanes now because that's how they say it in the videos. They want you to use a brush for the first 4 coats, then you can switch to a roller. They also say that you should have 8 coats on bare wood as a minimum, up to 20 coats, depending if you want it to be like super glossy or whatnot. I understand that. I'm not that concerned about making these that perfect. I'm going to try finishing with 4 coats today. The reason for that is I don't want to take these to the boat on Friday with them still being tacky. And that means that after tonight, I want to leave it all night tomorrow and the next day so I can leave Friday during the day and hopefully they're not tacky and they don't pick up dirt and whatnot when I go to install it on the boat. I may well decide that at some point in the future, I'll take these apart and do some more coats, but for now, it's time to move on. I need to get on to other projects. I need to finish the battery box and I need to design the motor mounts. Key thing is I'm not following their instructions properly. And as I said at the beginning, this is not a tutorial. Just doing what I can, the best I can with the parameters I have. So a couple things I'm going to do different this time. I'm going to go back to a brush for the last coat. I'm noticing a lot more debris in the finish that I did yesterday. I don't know if that was because the roller picked something up or what, but I picked up this small little stubby brush. It was like 10 bucks. It was half the price of the normal ones. So it's better than a roller, not as good as the first brush I had. But now that I realize it's going to be kind of a one-use thing, there we go. The other one I'm going to do is I'm going to give a very light sanding this time. The goal is just to key the surface, nothing more. Main thing I'm looking for right now is if there's any of that debris I can see that got picked up, any little hairs or bits of dust. I don't know if it's coming through on the microphone, but the cats upstairs are running around chasing each other, and because the roof isn't insulated, it kind of acts like a drum, so it sounds like there's kids upstairs. It's kind of cute. Is that you, May? Very, very light sand. Yep, it's May. She's just ripping around the other room. God, I love that kitty. I've been working on some new meds. Working on, that's a bit weird way to say it. I've been on some new meds and I've been adjusting the doses lately and it's been making me sleep a lot. And I had a nap earlier today and when I woke up, I'll put the picture here. It's really hot today, so I just had like a light sheet on. And when I woke up, she was curled up in the crook of my knee with her paws just hanging there. It was the most adorable way to wake up from a nap. And this coat, they said to do like a 5%, a 0 to 5% thinning. And the main thing they seem to say about using a little bit of thinner is to give you more working time. That has not been an issue. So I am not going to dilute this one. And if you notice that it's been multiple days and I'm wearing kind of the same clothes, I don't have a whole lot of work clothes. No, I don't wear this all day. I put this on before I come down. You're free to judge me, but yeah, I'm not that gross. I always put the side that's going to be not visible from the boat pointing down. And the reason I do that is occasionally, even though I check, I get some drips. I had some on here when the camera was off and I used a card scraper to get the high spots off, but I thought I'd bring it back and show you how I do it because I've got a few minor ones on the longboard. There's one right there. It's not too bad. There's one right here. These are pretty small and realistically I could probably just leave them and be fine with it. But I want to do the best job I can. So a card scraper, for anyone who hasn't used it, is basically a sheet of steel, very hard steel, that the way it works is, I'll sharpen it so you can see how it works. If you imagine, if you just punched this out and it was all perfectly flat and I zoomed in on the corner, it goes up, over, and down. That's not going to be much of a scraper. So what you do is you push down at just a bit of an angle like this and you run it across. This steel is even harder than this. My woodworking teacher has an old man's, like, you know, the flip out shavers that obviously it's dull, but it's just a piece of really hard steel that's harder than the cardstock steel. And as you run down along it, it causes the metal to fold over and it creates an edge that you can feel. You can feel it with your finger. That acts like the world's tiniest chisel. Well, I'm sure there's smaller ones, but a very, very small chisel, so that as you slide along, it's like a plane. It cuts off anything high. So it's a fantastic tool. It's one of my favorite tools. In fact, I have a whole selection of different thicknesses. The way you sharpen them is, first, you break the edge. So I'm just running this parallel to the surface of the metal. And what that does is it sort of folds back the old fold, or what's left of it. Flip it over and do the same thing. So now, I think it doesn't have that same sound. It's not grabbing anymore. Then I come flat to the edge. And again, I make no claims to be an expert. That's just how I do it. But by running this down and forth, it kind of like breaks that old edge off that I just folded back. So now I'm going to take this. If you watch somebody who knows what they're doing, they can do this so quickly. But I'm just causing it to fold over a little bit. There you go. Now, so with that sharp, so just very gently cutting it off. That's really all it took. And because it acts like a plane, it's really only cutting off the high spot. I'm just doing that until it's flat. Because it hasn't fully cured, it's a little gooey and gummy. So as I do this, it creates a nice little sort of gummy roll, not the edible kind. I'm just taking that high spot off. If you have any interest in woodworking, I cannot recommend these enough. I don't think they're very popular, generally speaking, with woodworkers. A lot of people find them annoying. And maybe it's because my teacher taught me how to use this right from the beginning that I find them relatively easy to use. But oh yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. As Peter Knowles would say, love it, love it, love it. Also, I don't want this to look like it's got a plastic, oh, I missed a bit right there. I don't want this to look like it's got a plastic surface. I want to see the wood grain. So have you ever seen those like really nice finished wooden boats and they just got like that glass finish over? That's what this can give you. I don't want that. I like seeing the grain of the texture. I like seeing it come in and out. The only real reason I might pull this apart and put more coats on this year or maybe next year is I don't know if this is enough to protect the grain from moisture. And this being right under the companionway hatch, water gets on it. It lands on the table and just sits up against the edge and it gets sucked up, and that's why the old one rotted. Oh, look at that. The camera is doing that droop. My forehead. My eyelashes. The goggles, they do nothing. I'm not going to use the yellow cloth again because of the lint it was leaving. I'm going to try just some paper towel and see how that works. This is not going to take very much time to dry at all. I imagine there's probably a proper cloth for doing this. I'll have to look up for the, before I do the battery box. Okay, paper towel was a failed experiment. I'll finish with it, but I can see lots of little bits coming off. Let's do hopefully the last coat. But first, say hi, May. Oh my God, she did it on cue. Oh, you're so damn cute. Oh, I probably shouldn't touch you now that, oh, damn it. Okay, I love you, but I'm not going to touch you because I don't want to get your fur on the cabinet, okay? You're so cute. Oh, this is much thicker without the thinning, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? I'm being generous with this last coat, trusting it's going to flow out nicely. Okay, I'm completely messing up the backside. Ah, this is really sticky. This is requiring a different technique. I think I just need to coat both sides and then do a final coating pass. It's like trying to hold on to slime. Okay, how am I going to do this? Okay, like the guy said, resist the temptation to keep going at it. Okay, if anything makes me do a fifth coat, it's going to be because there's globs from runs because I put this on too thick. Oh shit, I broke a corner. Oh well. I dropped one of these when I was sanding. This might have been the one I dropped. I've said it many times before, and I'll probably say it many times again. Imperfect from your hands is always better than perfect from somebody else's. Okay, this brush is shedding. Not a good buy. Not a good buy at all. Okay. All right, I can't say I'm happy with that, but it's the best I could do. So, not thinning it really, like even when I just did 10 or 15% yesterday, that little tiny dollop, what a difference it made. It's way stickier. I don't know if it came across in the camera, but as I was pulling on it, I couldn't keep the board still. So today's lesson is eat it up, buy the nice brush, and don't go so thick on a single pass. See you tomorrow, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow. All right, let's see if we need coat 5. But the big question is, what do we have in the way of runs? A little bit of one there, but not too serious. You can see some down there, but that's the back. I wouldn't worry about it just for that. Oh, geez. Yeah, we have some serious runs. I don't like the bubble look. I wish it was still long lines if I'd stopped on the last coat, or if I do one more coat. But again, I need to get in the water. I really need to get in the water. I'm gonna have to probably just call it. I can take the panel apart and keep at it in the fall. A little bit on that one. It's not perfect, not even close. But I think it's good enough to move on. I'm definitely going to take it apart. I think the 8 coats is absolutely needed, and I can see why now, all those little dots. I hope they showed up in the camera. So I'll go into the boat as it is, and I'll take it out in the fall after all the sea trials are done. And then I can do however many coats I want. So the next time you see these, it's going to be down on the boat, which for you will be right now. Okay, so first thing to do is cut the power. So that's that off. And now, because I am playing with the AC, I'm going to actually cut it from the shore as well. Okay, now it should be completely dead. So I've got 2 tasks, but the first one is to get the main box in. Now I have not Scotch guarded my cushions yet, and I've put the cushions back. So I gotta make sure I don't put anything greasy over there. There's the ground bus. No voltage. Okay. So this is the first 120 volt. Okay. Now this is going to be the AC distribution, which is going on this side. So I need a bit more space over here. That's going to be that side. And I think this is this side. Okay, it's a little bit thicker from the varnish. Okay, now, how square is this? Quite out of square. So you can see it's a fair bit out of square. So I've got the front lined up, so I'm going to rat-a-tap-tap the back to get this into square, and then I can sink the screws. I'll check the square at the top as well, and then I'll do, this side's pretty easy because I've got this bar here, so it's really just this side I have to muck with. There we go. That looks good. Once I got that in, that'll set this. I'm going to need to do one for along here as well. Now, the question becomes, how much, if I put this side one in right here, does it stick out? Because I need it to be less than ½ inch so I don't blow out the other side. Okay, it does not go all the way through. Okay, another quick square check. Pushed it out a bit, but not much. There we go. Oh shit, it's raining. I was not expecting that. There we go. There we go. So those are in. Now, let's get these in. And for that, I am going to hand screw. Now these are the very small ones, so I need a #1 Robertson. I was not expecting rain today. That is one side mounted. It's a bit more of a gap than I was hoping for. Now, may not be anything for doing for it. Okay. I really don't know why I've got this gap here, but whatever. Oh, right, I have new handles. Okay, I'm gonna go get the other handle and we'll see if it fits. All the good stuff comes in brown bags. I'll, after the light's back on, I'll show you what the nickel looks like, and I'll show it compared to the aluminum ones that are on it already. They're pretty similar. I think this just classes it up a bit. Okay, are these the same screws? Oh, yes! Okay, so that's not gonna be a problem. Oh, these feel so much better. I can't show you that on camera. I don't know if the lighting is great, but yeah, the one closest to the panel is the new brushed nickel. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. Let's get some screws into that and we'll have our first mounted panel. Oh damn. Okay, so this bottom breaker is thicker than I expected. Okay, so after all of my effort to clear that, I need to sand it down. So I was going to grab my chisel and realized I haven't sharpened it. That is an abomination to woodworking. So I used my pull saw, and originally the pull saw was just going to be to cut down so I had something to work across. But then I thought, can I just use this to walk across the bottom? And it's working surprisingly well. So I wanted to bring you back and show you that. Now, one of the benefits to needing to put some more coats on in the fall is that it'll give me a chance to fix this. Have I told you how much I love these saws? No, I need to come down at least 2 more millimeters. Anyways, that's what I wanted to show you. I'm just going to keep doing this until it fits. Okay, I think I've got it. Yep, looks good. There we go. I'm trying to get them started in the holes that were already there. There we go. The first panel in. I still have to do the main DC breaker. I need to put those in. I've got all of these to do, but yeah. Oh, am I gonna have to completely disassemble this? Bollocks, I might, you know. So I can't get this out without taking this whole bus bar off. I might as well take this off now and connect the main DC breaker and then come out to here. And that's one more thing installed. So there's the main breaker panel. There's the main breaker, which is 100 amps, I think. Yeah, 100 amps. So I clean up that panel and then mount it. So nice seeing this stuff clean up. That side looks better, so that'll be the face. So if I remember right, this does not go up and down, so I need to make sure I've got... Okay, that's gonna work. Oh, hold on. I put the screw in and it missed the breaker entirely. Okay. All right, that still lines up. So now I gotta take this off and I'm going to need to add another cable to get over to this one. I need to go from here to here and then off of here to the next one. So I'm gonna need a bunch of jumpers. You know what? No, I want this fairly long so that if I drop a panel out, there's enough slack to drop it down. So no, this is the perfect length. So this is going to go through here to the input. Now, I don't expect to ever pull anywhere close to 100 amps, but still, I want to treat it as if I'm going to go to limit. So here's the thing. Normally you don't want washers, but they've given you 2 washers and 2 nuts, which makes me think it's expecting you to do that. Well, let's do it that way. This wire, I'm going to point in the same direction down so that when I go to pull this out, I can pull it out and then droop. Oh, it's going to foul with this. So now this wire is coming straight down to where the switch is going to be. Well, you know what? If I bend it a bit, that's probably fine. Let's bend these up a little bit. There we go. If I put that up here, I can only come down this far. Well, is that far enough? If I flip this bar around so that this stuck out the bottom, it would definitely be long enough. Is there a reason they came in the top? I mean, I guess it keeps the exposed up and out of the way, so you're less likely to bump it. Okay, I will put some thought into that, but for now, this is what I'm going to use. Okay, but the whole thing that started this is I have to disassemble this. Okay, I've got all the breakers out. I need to clean this anyway, so I am going to, very unfortunately, sacrifice these very vintage 80s labels and get all of these labels scraped off and then wash the faceplate down so that when I put it back up, it looks nicer, like that one over there. So I got all of the labels off. There's what I thought was a stain or like just some dirt is actually burnt, so I can't fix that. I might try to find some color matching paint later and repaint these, but that's for down the road. I've replaced all the breakers with 20 amperes. Most of these were originally 10. 20 amp was for the cabin lights, the top one, and the second one that I need for the water pump. Actually, I'm gonna put the water pump down at the bottom, but the water pump should be 15 amps. The pump's gonna be off when I'm not here, and I will replace these with 15 and then probably 10s. But for now, it's populated. And now I gotta put the bar on. And I wanted to bring you back because, let me put you down. And I really like the idea of having this down here to give me the most flexibility. I'm gonna leave long leads on the new wires I run. I mean, it's still quite far from the ground, so even if water got down here, it's not gonna touch. I'm going to put it on the bottom for now, but if y'all have a reason for why it should be at the top, let me know in the comments and I'll change it if there's a compelling reason. I don't recall the ABYC saying anything about this. And I mean, 12 volts is so low, it's not like it's got a lot of arc over potential. So now one of the other things I'm going to do different is, before it was mounted like this on the old panel, this one I'm going to do it on the outside because I don't like having to get the screw in like this. This lets me put the screwdriver in from the other side. Okay, so that means this one is now going to come over like this. Oh, and also, as I took everything off, I labeled what they were. It is touching here, but there's enough flexibility I can bend it out of the way. Okay, that gives me lots of play with the 31 mil. There we go. There's my two lights. I really don't like how these are done until I can replace them. A lot of this is going to be changing before long anyway. All right, with my light fading, everything is wired up again. Let's put this one in. My knuckles are rapping against the counter. I dare say, that's looking pretty spiffy, to steal Mad's catchphrase. Okay, let's try. Okay, so far so good. Wait for the bang. Well, the gentle bang, not the oh shit bang. There it is. All right, that's alive. Flip the battery back on. So now I should get nothing. Flip on the breaker. Ha-ha! You know what? This is a good stopping point. Let me go turn on the lights. So there's no way I can do one episode for the electrical wiring. So this is going to be the end of the cabinet. So as I sit here, I haven't started editing, but I think this video is going to, in my future, for you, you just watched it, show the disassembly and construction of the cabinet and installation. I know I haven't done the AC side yet. It's just getting too late. I'll deal with that later. I think that's a decent amount of progress. That's looking clean. It's looking a lot cleaner. From this with its rotted out parts and the screws that were stripped out, and I never liked this big opening. I always wanted to have a little bit of space between the panels. I think that looks more skookum. This is a very nice upgrade. I mean, look at that. I mean, to be fair, this is 45 years old, but still. Oh, they did put some edge banding on it. I mean, of course they did. They didn't miter it. All right, I'm the Digital Mermaid. If you like this kind of really in-depth build, then do the YouTube thingies, please, because that really helps. And I like to get the channel a little bit bigger, you know. Gets that dopamine hit going every time I see the sub count go up, and what do we live for but dopamine hits? Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey buddy, you're rarely on YouTube. You're usually too scared of whatever I'm working on. Hey bud. Hey Kepler. Yeah. You're not the cuddly type. No, don't show YouTube your bumhole. Though that is perhaps the most cat thing you can do. Don't show YouTube your bum.